Growing up in Jackson for us is very different from our parents, from our grandparents. You know, we have our shops and places in Fondren, but they had Farish Street. And it was alive and grooving and booming. But now, it's barely a shell of what it was before. What happened to it? What happened to our Farish Street?
When we started Marshall's Music and Bookstore, Farish Street was still a booming street. You know, we started in the early 1960s, before the advent of integration and desegregation. So people came to Farish Street. They frequented it, they patronized it, they supported it.
Farish Street in the 50s was a mecca for African Americans. This is where we had to go in order to shop, to be entertained, to see the doctor, the lawyer's office. So Farish Street was that spot. I don't know how much you know about Farish, but what actually caused its demise was more of integration.
If you do not control your own economics, you will not dictate your own destiny. It has to do with certain models that promote success versus other models that do not. We have to be solution-oriented. We cannot wait for other people who we are dependent upon to provide solutions for us that we must give to and for and come from ourselves. If you go to Koreatown, all of the businesses are Korean-owned businesses. They cater to Korean people. And if you want to shop there, you are more than welcome to shop there. But the signs might be in Korean. Should they change the Korean signs because you shop there? Should they change the Korean food because you shop there? That's Koreatown. What's wrong with Korean people having a Koreatown? There's nothing wrong with that. They're hardworking people who come to America, wherever they go, and they want to establish a place where they can feel safe. It's not until they control the economics of that space can they employ their own people. Can they reduce the crime that comes from having unemployment? All of this is tied towards solutions, which is the economic community control. Now I can put black in front of that, and then everything changes. When I put Korean in front of economic community control, it makes sense. When I put Chinese in front of economic community control, it makes sense. But when I put black in front of it, it don't make sense because of all the people who suck the blood of black people. But as Amos Wilson says, common sense to a Negro is considered radical thought. And I cannot go away from that because African Americans, black people, colored people, persons of color have been made to be out of our minds in order to be functional within this society.
Having a business in Jackson requires that you deal with the fact that sometimes you don't have the infrastructure of a major city to support your business. But you go ahead and you deal with that anyway. You figure out a way to navigate your way around the potholes of Jackson as you would the potholes of having a business. Of course, in a business, one must be consistent, keeping the right inventory, making sure that customers are satisfied, even if something goes wrong with my suppliers. I have to figure out a way to keep my customers satisfied.
The first place a business begins is not with a building. It's in your mind. The first thing you have to do is create it or have a vision or idea, imagination. You have to have something in your mind. You should think, plan, do. Not do and then think about planning. A lot of people start businesses based on their talent or their desire without actually sitting down and planning out the intricacies of running a business or even going to people who have business to ask them what it is. The goal of a successful business is not only to be thriving or to take everything over, it's to remain independent so that you don't have to work for other people.
There's always challenges in business. If you have a business, you're going to have challenges. Our challenge 50 years ago would not be the challenges of today. The advantages of 50 years ago are not the advantages that we typically have today. But we continue on. Of course, with any black person, you're going to have to deal with systematic racism. Also, being a woman, I deal with systematic sexism. But I'm used to being resistant. I'm used to fighting. I'm used to standing my ground. So I do so.
We're dealing with the holistically accurate knowledge of self, but economics is at the core of that. And there's nothing that can take place and be sustained without the economic component. If you can't pay your own way, you can't say what you want to say. That's why a lot of people are stifled and muffled, even though they mean well and are well-intentioned, because they receive their funding from outside sources that dictate how far they can go if they want to get out that box.
Because if we don't support each other, who else will? And we just have to recycle the black dollar. Why we need to grow black businesses? Because, for instance, we can provide more jobs. The better Johnny T's does, the more employees I can have, the more people that I can employ. And typically, someone like myself would be employing the unemployable. So here's somebody that couldn't get a job somewhere else, whether it's because of their background or maybe couldn't pass a drug test or whatever it may be. Here, we can kind of make a way for you.
It is absolutely essential for every black person to take it upon themselves the responsibility of healing our community. Everyone. There isn't a person alive who does not have that duty. So here on Farish Street, it's very interesting because we have people on Farish Street, some who have chemical addiction problems. But because it's Farish Street, there's a certain responsibility that they understand they have. And their responsibility is to look out for me. Sometimes I'll come in early in the morning. When I mean early in the morning, I mean 3 o'clock in the morning. And they'll stand outside and they'll watch to make sure that nothing goes wrong. That's Farish Street. However, that should be everywhere any black person is. Our community is our common unity, and we have to take care of each other.
We don't have to hate nobody. All we got to do is love our black selves, first and foremost. If we do that, all the rest of this stuff falls apart. Find out what it is the people want and desire and satisfy it. It's very, very simple.
I'm ultra excited to be part of the whole renaissance of Farish Street.
I think it's been an honor to be on Farish Street and to serve our people, to provide for them the needs of educating themselves and on a spiritual level, and then also on a historic level, and combining the two. I have a great sense of responsibility to the future of Farish Street. Now, with that said, when we say hope, I'm not a hopeful person, period. I say hope a little bit less and do a lot more. That's what it's going to take for Farish Street to come back to its former glory.
And that's what we're gonna do. Instead of hoping for change, we're gonna make it happen. We, the future of Jackson, are gonna bring back our Farish Street.